Jazz guitar players use these type of voicings all the time for many reasons. One, they sound good. Two, they are not as big and intrusive as playing an A7 all the way like that, for example. But also because from these shells, as they are known, give you the possibility of later adding with whatever finger is free. In this case, for example, the penny, adding your 13s or your flat 13 sharp 5, or playing the shell like that and doing your flat 5. So the shells are very useful, and you definitely want to learn the shells with the roots on 6th and 5th string. So let's take a look at some of these shell shapes. This will be your G7. That's your root, your flat 7, and your 3rd. There's no 5th there. The 5th will be right there, right? Like on your bar chord. It's the same notes as your bar chord without that 5th, really. One thing that you want to get hip to right away is that you have to mute that string if you're gonna strum. Of course, you can also pluck like that, but if you're playing like a rhythm, like, then you want to make sure that that string is muted, which kind of happens automatically by, you know, this part of the skin on that finger is actually stopping the string from ringing. So take a look at this shape, see if you can feel comfortable with it, and then maybe strum it. I like to strum it with my thumb too, kind of like, you know, that Wes Montgomery thing of playing with the thumb can be useful for this type of thing also. So that's your G7. This will be your G major 7. Notice that the only note that changed was the 7th, right? From a flat 7 to a major 7. G7, G major 7, back to G7. Now G minor 7, the 3rd, is gonna go down a half step. So that will be your G minor 7, which you can also play like that, of course, or just hold the bar like that, depending on the situation. But the point is that it's only these 3 notes, and so far we have not used the 5th string. Everything's been played on this low string, the 6th string for the bass note, and then the 4th and the 3rd string. Dominant 7, major 7, minor 7. Minor 6 is right there too. Back to minor 7, dominant 7, major 7. So we have the shells with the root on 6, and now we're gonna do the shells with the root on the 5th string. So let's do D7. So that's your root, that's your 3rd, and that's your 7, your flat 7 in this case. So these shells are root, 3, and 7. There's no 5th, okay? So it's always gonna be either root 7-3 or root 3-7, depending on the position. Obviously, that's your G7, so your G7 with the root on 5th is gonna be right there. What you gotta do is find the root and then use the same shape. So here's your D7. If it was D major 7, the flat 7 has to be raised to a major 7, like that. Back to the D dominant 7. If it was a minor 7, now we have to take the 3rd and bring it down. Maybe you didn't see how I brought it down because I switched my fingers to be more comfortable, but it's really just this note that changes. Obviously, if I have to do that, I'll do it with these fingers because it's just more comfy, but you can do it either way. So that's your D7, D major 7. If you want to do a D6, like that, but typically we're gonna work mostly with a dominant 7 and minor 7 chords for these shapes. So if I want to play a 12-bar blues, for example, in the key of G, that's gonna be my 1, that's gonna be my 4, back to the 1, then back to the 4, back to the 1, then the 5 is gonna be right there. So I got my 1, my 4, and my 5. So do 1, 4, 5 in different keys, starting with the root on 6, 1, 4, and 5, and then starting with the root on 5th in the same key. So if that was G, C, and D, now we want to find G, C, and D. Once again, here's your G7 to C7 to D7. Other things that you can do with these shapes is, for example, when you have a minor 7 going to a minor 6, so you can go from like notice how I'm just switching these two fingers from major 7 to major 6. That will be your major 6. One of the styles you want to get familiar is the Freddie Green thing, where it's like 4 on the beat, and you can do it with the pick, or I like doing it with my thumb a lot, because when you play with your thumb, just with the skin, I don't know, it makes that a very smooth, soft sound. It's very soothing, and it's very good because it doesn't really occupy the space that anybody else would be like improvising over, as opposed to, you know, playing it more like that with the pick. So if you are playing with the pick, one of the things that you do, that I would do, is, you know, you roll off the treble a little bit and don't hold your pick too hard, so that you can kind of be smooth. Like that. Remember, very important to mute that string so that we don't get, that's kind of cool. Why don't we want to get that? Well, maybe for another situation, but not for this. That is kind of cool. So now let's practice a 12-bar blues in the key of G using only the shells. And you can choose to do it with the thumb or with your fingers, or you can pluck, you know, whichever way you want. I suggest you strum instead of plucking. And if you want to strum, either do it with a pick. Another trick is that if you want to get a softer sound and you're playing with the pick, instead of playing with the pointy part, you can use the rounder part of the pick. And then don't hit the notes, you know, so straight like that. It's more like in an angle like that. Produces a softer sound. So are you ready to practice this? 12-bar blues in the key of G. By the way, if you don't know how to play a 12-bar blues, stop whatever you're doing and learn that. So we're gonna play a 12-bar blues in the key of G. Quick change, so G7, C7, G7, then D7, C7, G7, and D7 at the end. We're gonna do it with the metronome at 92, and we're going to play one chord per beat. Again, you can do it with the pick, you can do it with your thumb, any way you want. And here we go. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Well done. I'll see you in the next lesson.